What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're going to be ranking Port Adelaide's Guernseys since 1870. Now these all are from their catalogue, the big catalogue of Guernseys that Port Adelaide have had in their 150 years, and that's why we're doing this. Over the course of this celebration, we're going to be looking at these iconic Guernseys, some that are better than others, that's for sure, but definitely going to be ranking them, and as you can see on the tier maker here, providing the goods with a ranking system. So we're going to go straight into it and rank these Guernseys that Port Adelaide have had since 1870. Now, as you can see here, we've got all the renditions of Guernseys since the beginning. So all Clash Guernseys, away Guernseys, and all the SANFL ones as well that have mixed through. Now, I will show you before I get to the tier that Port Adelaide obviously had so many different types of prison bar Guernseys, as you can see. Couple that look like Collingwood as well. I haven't put them in because they're only 1 year, 2 year Guernsey. So we'd be here all day if we were doing every single Guernsey worn for just one event. So these are all different renditions of the Guernseys, long sleeves as well, couple of bars, all prison bar. Then you've got the stripes as well as the magenta. So we've got one rendition of each type of Guernsey. Which makes it a lot easier for me. Otherwise, you'll be here till, well, you'll be here forever. All right, let's get into it. The first one we're going to be doing is the grey jumper. Look, I was a big fan of the teal one that we had for pre-season. I thought that would be nice to come back as a Clash Guernsey because you don't see the teal as much anymore, and I'm kind of disappointed. But this is the 2020 version with the number block on the back and the 150 years logo. So, to me, the Clash silver is a meh. It doesn't really bother me too much. Hasn't brought us greatest of luck in games, but in terms of a Guernsey, it's a meh. It's a meh. Then the Thunderbolt that looks like it was drawn by an 8-year-old. Look, I've got one of these. I won't lie. I've got one of these, and I loved it as a kid. Now it just looks odd. Just looks real odd. To me in the eye. I think it's probably one of the worst Guernseys Port Adelaide has ever worn. So that's going in the never again pile. Next Guernsey is the shaded teal silver jumper that was worn between 2007 to 2008. I did actually like this jumper. I thought it was a real nice, a different look for a Guernsey and very different to the renditions that we have of previous years for Port Adelaide Guernseys. I did like it. So I'm going to put it in the like pile because it was during that time where Port Adelaide was somewhat decent as a football team, and when we were playing, it was a Clash Guernsey. So obviously while we were away and stuff like that, it wasn't worn too often, but I liked it. I thought it was good. This one, the old lightning bolt with the panel, the silver panels on the back. For me personally, this Guernsey is iconic. But I know a lot of people, a lot of you guys especially, are like, no, they brought nothing. But it did look nice. It was a lot different, and it was back in the day in the early 2000s where Clash Guernseys and away Guernseys were a little bit, edgy. There was a little bit of difference between. It wasn't just white shorts; it was a different design, and clubs got around that. So I personally, I liked it. It can go with the other Clash Guernsey. I liked it, that's for sure. Now we've got the white version of the home jumper in here as well. I'm just going to put that in the meh pile because. Look, it's, to me, away Guernseys and Clash Guernseys aren't really, when they look the same as a home jumper but just different colour, it doesn't bother me too much. I know a lot of people like the white better than the grey, and a lot of people would have liked the teal as well, and yeah, it's just a meh for me. I mean, imagine wearing that, you got to wash it. It's white. Now this one was worn in the 1870 to 1876 period. It was a fluctuation between the hoops and this Guernsey that they wore together. It apparently was symbolised. It's never going to be worn again, simply for the fact that today's game, majority of Port Adelaide fans wouldn't even know we had that Guernsey. So, yeah, it's going in the never again pile, and I don't really like it. It's boring. Speaking of the hoops, we're going to be wearing it in round 7 this year against Carlton for the birthday game of Port Adelaide. Everyone remembers when we wore them in 2005 against the Crows for Heritage Round. They all thought we looked like bananas in pyjamas. Personally, I like them. I think they're great. They're probably one of the ugliest Guernseys Port Adelaide has ever worn. But in terms of wearing it, I think it's great. I think they look sensational. don't understand why we had the darker blue pants, but you know, they'll have white shorts this year and look great. The next one is another one that I think will never be worn again. It was just a plain light pink Guernsey, and this was worn just after the blue and white North Melbourne looking type of Guernsey in 1877 to 1882. And this is when Port Adelaide made its transition into the magenta pink stage of their career. So, to be honest, it will never be worn again, and Port Adelaide does not represent pink anymore, so that won't be happening. The next one that we're going to be looking at is the magenta style looking Guernsey. I'll show you here. It actually has a bit of a Fitzroy feel about it. Bit of a Brisbane Lions type of situation going on here, and as you can see, 1884 to 1901, a majority of the time with the magenta style, 17 years wearing the magenta and Adelaide blue. No. Although it is pretty iconic to have the magenta, I'm going to put it in the meh pile because I actually, and the next Guernsey we're going to do, and I might as well get to it now, is the one Guernsey that we wore in 2004, and it was against Essendon in Heritage Round. I absolutely love this Guernsey. I think it should have been brought back for this year. It's one of the first Guernseys that we wore. And you can see that they had different renditions of it over 13, obviously the first one with 13 years, and then it was only around for 8 years before we went into the famous prison bars. But I think it's just one of those Guernseys that you just absolutely love to look at. And when we wore it in 2004, I just remember thinking, hang on a second, that's not Port Adelaide. Warren Treadray's running around, kicking goals in that thing. The next one we're going to be doing is the Thunderbolt. Now, this is a Guernsey that was worn pretty early on throughout the early 2000s and late 90s. It was more of a pre-season Guernsey that we had. And then it ended up becoming our Clash Guernsey in the early 2000s. And I think, look, to be honest, I don't mind it. I like it. I think it's one of those Guernseys that, you know, when Port Adelaide first came in, the power, you know, it represents Port Adelaide power with the Thunderbolt and the teal, and it just represented Port a little bit more. And I think, you know, it's more of an AFL Guernsey than it is a Port Adelaide Football Club Guernsey, and I know a lot of people will understand that, and a lot of people won't. And what I mean by that is, it's one of those AFL Guernseys that is part of our history, but won't be remembered as much as, say, a prison bar. The next one we're looking at now, we wore this in 2016 round 1 to commemorate 20 years in the AFL. And we went out in style of beating St Kilda by 30 odd points. It was one of our first Guernseys that we wore. It was an away Guernsey in 1997, and it was worn for a couple of years after that till we changed to the Thunderbolt as an away Guernsey. And for me personally, I absolutely love this Guernsey. I think it's fantastic. It's just one of those things where it's that early tradition of Port Adelaide. First final series, I think we wore that Guernsey as well against Collingwood. And it's just, no, it wasn't Collingwood, it was North Melbourne. It's just an iconic AFL Guernsey in terms of Port Adelaide. Next one is our current home jumper, and something we've been wearing for the last decade, since 2010, since a young girl, I think it was an 8-year-old, who decided to win one of those Planet Teal competitions where you design a Guernsey and the club would wear it for one game. And fans at that stage loved it that much that they made it the official home jumper. And it's a lot more professional looking. I think it's a lot cleaner. It's a representation. A lot of people call it the chevrons as well. And I love it. I absolutely love this Guernsey. It's the modern day. When they added the number panel to the back, it just made it even better. And I think it's one of the better home Guernseys that we've had until the next one, the Premiership Guernsey, one that was worn majority of 2000 throughout the 2000s, and we won a Premiership in the Guernsey. And as soon as you win a Premiership in a Guernsey, you know it becomes iconic, and it's one of the best Guernseys we've had as a design ever. I think that's Port Adelaide. That's Port Adelaide power. That's Port Adelaide in terms of, you look at the AFL era, and that's it. And if you want to look at something that's the most successful Guernsey, one of the best Guernseys in AFL, VFL, footballing history, across amateurs, country, anything, It's the Prison Bar Guernsey, and you know it's iconic, and it's coming back this year, and I'm very excited to see it. The boys will be very excited to play in it. We haven't, I think we've lost once in the AFL when wearing it. I think we've worn it, twice, sorry. So we lost to the Bulldogs in 2007 and 2013 against Carlton in that last game. But everything else, the final against Richmond, wearing that Guernsey, it was iconic. Wearing it this year in a showdown is going to be absolutely amazing. Back in the early 2000s when we wore it for Heritage Round, it was just a magnificent Guernsey. And then you can't forget the SANFL, 36 premierships with it. It's countless amounts of wins, and for 150 years, if you search up Port Adelaide, that's one of the first things that pops up. And I'm so happy this iconic Guernsey will be worn in 2020 for our 150 years. Well, Port fans, thank you very much for tuning in to this tier maker of Port Adelaide Guernseys. I'm going to save it, and you can have a go as well. The link will be in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new for plenty more Port Adelaide content, because round 1 is not too far away. And don't forget as well, if you're an AFL fan, there's going to be plenty more content that will be coming very soon. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Anthony, and as always, ThePear.